Intex Millwork Solutions RS70 Providence Rail Installation, stair section with structural post and wood mount hardware. Before getting started, please note that Providence Rail is designed to meet International Residential Code. Please check with local code officials to ensure you meet the proper requirements and refer to the installation instructions provided in the packaging before and during the installation process. Post sleeve reinforcement options. Two typical knoll sleeve reinforcement options can be used: wooden 4x4 post or Intex structural post mount with anchoring hardware. In this video, the Intex structural post mount and wooden 4x4 post have already been installed. Please visit intexmillwork.com for structural post mount installation instructions. If using a wooden 4x4 post, please contact your local architect or building inspector for proper installation practices. Structural post hardware. Determine what hardware you will need for the Intex structural post: wood mount, knoll mount-W, or concrete mount, knoll mount-C. For this demonstration, we will be using an Intex structural post, knoll post 36/42, with a wood mount kit, knoll mount-W. The following Intex millwork products are used in this Providence stair rail installation: RS70-8K36/S, 96-inch Providence stair rail kit. Knoll post 36/42, 36-inch structural knoll post mount. Knoll mount W, mounting hardware for wood or composite application for knoll post 36/42. Knoll 5EX, extruded 5 square inch by 48 inch knoll post sleeve with adjustable shims. IMPC5, 5-inch injection molded pyramid cap for Knoll 5EX. IMTR5, 5-inch injection molded trim ring for Knoll 5EX. Determining the rake angle. Because the Providence rail system is a screw-together system, the balusters and rail components must be cut in the field to match the rake angle of the stair run. The rake angle is determined by calculating the rise and run of the stairs. That corresponding angle will be used to cut your balusters and rail components. Before getting started, be sure to have the following items: battery-powered 14-volt or higher or corded drill, non-impact, 1/8 inch drill bit, 3/16 inch drill bit, number 2 square driver bit, 5/16 inch nut driver bit, latex caulk, scrap board 3/4 inch thick, tape measure, level, and speed square, bar of soap or wax, and a chop saw with blades to cut both CPVC and aluminum. Using a 3/4 inch thick piece of scrap board, mark a plumb line on the top and bottom ends to verify the rake angle. Use these markings to cut the scrap board to length. Dry fit the cut scrap board to ensure the cuts are accurate. Before installing the lower bracket, score the rail bracket screws, labeled A in the instructions, through a bar of soap or wax to help easily guide the screws through the aluminum. Fully install the lower stair bracket to the lower end of the aluminum reinforcements. The lower end comes in contact with the knoll on the lower end of the stair run. Next, align the bottom of the aluminum with the lower bracket installed to the bottom of the scrap board. Align the end of the lower bracket with the rake angle cut. On the back side of the aluminum, mark the short point. Then, flip the aluminum over and mark the angle line. Insert a bracket screw, labeled A in the installation instructions, into the upper bracket and place the upper bracket so that the projection of the screw head is aligned with the mark. Mark a parallel offset line using the back of the upper bracket. Using this parallel line, cut the aluminum. Install the upper bracket to the angled cut using the bracket screws, labeled A in the installation instructions, that have been scored through soap or wax. Use a 3/4 inch thick scrap board to dry fit the aluminum at a consistent offset from the nosing of the stair treads. Align the aluminum to the center of the knoll wraps and mark. When installing to a post mount, use the number 10 by 1.5 inch hex head screws supplied with the structural newel post mount. When installing to wood, use the rail attachment screws supplied with the Providence rail kit, labeled B in the installation instructions. Remove the scrap board once all screws are installed. To begin installing the balusters, use the center mark of the cut scrap board to determine whether to center on a baluster or between two balusters, whichever is more aesthetically pleasing for the end run of the railing. For this demonstration, centered between two balusters works best. Mark the center point between two baluster dimples. Then, transfer the marking around the entirety of the rail profile. Align the center mark of the scrap board with the mark on the rail profile. Mark the ends of the scrap board onto the rail profile. Cut the rail profile, ensuring that the proper angles are used on each end. Dry fit the bottom rail profile. On the top rail profile, mark the center point between two baluster dimples. Transfer the marking around the entirety of the profile. Align the center point of the cut bottom rail to the marking on the top rail. Mark the ends of the bottom rail onto the top rail. With the rail profiles flat side to flat side, transfer the angles to ensure it will be cut in the proper direction. Cut the rail profile, ensuring that the proper angles are used on each end. Dry fit the top rail. To begin installing the top rail, transcribe the height of the level rail onto the face of the newel wrap. Using a scrap piece of top rail profile cut to the proper angle, mark the top and bottom onto the newel wrap. Stair balusters are not pre-dimpled. Before cutting, mark a crosshair on the top and bottom of each baluster for the center point. Then, pre-drill a hole on each end using a 1/8 inch drill bit. Because the Providence rail system is a screw-together system, the balusters and rail components must be cut in the field to match the rake angle of the stair run. The rake angle is determined by calculating the rise and run of the stairs. Use the rake angle to cut a single baluster that will be used to check the angles and measurements before cutting all other balusters. Align the cut baluster with the bottom rail and the newel wrap. Transfer the bottom mark from the newel wrap to the baluster. Use this mark to cut all other balusters to size. Note that the pilot holes are maintained even after cutting. When installing the balusters, ensure that the screw follows the pilot hole on the baluster so the screw does not protrude on either side. On the bottom rail, slowly drill the baluster screw, labeled C in the installation instructions, until the tip of the screw projects through the rail about 1/8 of an inch. Using a 3/4 inch spacer board, line the dimple of the baluster up to the projected screw tip and drive the screw all the way through. Repeat this step until all balusters are installed on the bottom rail. Once the bottom rail is complete, align the top rail with the balusters and repeat the installation of the baluster screws. Fit the assembled rail section into place, securing it onto the previously installed bottom aluminum. Slide the aluminum into the top rail profile. Align the top rail section to the center of each newel wrap face and mark. When installing to wood, use the rail attachment screws supplied with the Providence rail kit, labeled B in the installation instructions. When installing to a post mount, use the number 10 by 1.5 inch hex head screws supplied with the structural newel post mount. Using the scrap board, measure and mark the top rail cap. Cut the top rail cap with the angles in the proper direction. Trim the rail cap slightly longer than your markings and adjust after dry fitting. After dry fitting the cap and adjusting cuts as necessary, apply latex caulk and install the top rail cap and the newel caps securely to finish. Thank you for watching. Please visit intexmillwork.com for more information on our additional product lines or for more assistance.